When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
Now let's move things along here. The triple threat of COVID, RSV, the respiratory virus, and influenza has left Quebec hurting. While things are still hard in Quebec hospitals, there are some positive signs when it comes to the numbers that we're starting to see now. Dr. Christopher Labos joins us on the line, cardiologist, degree in epidemiology. You hear him on Sundays at 8:10 a.m., on weekends with Ken. Dr. Labos, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
Now, I'm going to tell you something here, doctor. I'm not surprised. You look at graphs and they go up and up and up. Eventually, I was saying to myself in my brain, I was like, well, eventually these viruses will run out of bodies. It cannot go up forever. It will have to start falling. And I think sometimes we look at graphs and charts and we freak out a bit, but maybe you want to dial back my enthusiasm here. Curb your enthusiasm, Elias. What do you say about the numbers that we're seeing now on all of the viruses going around?
Well, look, in one sense, you are correct. Everything that goes up will come back down. Every flu season, every outbreak, every wave does eventually come to an end. It's a question of, how many people get sick in the interim. So all flu seasons end. This flu season started earlier, so it's very conceivable that it will end earlier than it normally would. So it maybe won't reach into February and March like it normally does. It might start coming down prior to that. I think what we have seen based on, really just last week's data is that the upward trend of flu cases that we were looking at in terms of the positivity rate has sort of leveled off. Now, the hope that people have is, will it level off and start coming down? Of course, it's also possible that it will level off and stay high, and it's also possible that when this week's data is collected, it may go back up again. So we have one data point where it wasn't worse than the week before. It was sort of stable relative to the week before. So we'll see what the second data point shows. And the real question is going to be, how long does the plateau phase of this outbreak persist or not? Does it last for a short period of time and come back down, or does it persist for several weeks into the new year? That's going to be the big question.
Where are we at with COVID, Dr. Labos? I mean, and I'm talking about their impact on hospitals. Is that still a thing, or is it really the RSV and more and the flu that are impacting the healthcare system?
It's everything. I mean, it's the combination of all three things happening together. There's still a lot of COVID out there. There are still a lot of people getting COVID, and the wastewater data suggests that things are going to get worse because the wastewater data is going up. The number of COVID cases is rising slowly, but not as precipitously as we saw with RSV and the flu. And so RSV had its spike sort of earlier in the season and then started to come back down. Flu had its spike now and now seems to be stabilizing. So the question is going to be, does COVID now spike?
But is the COVID, so I get, case numbers, and let me tell you, every day I hear a story, I got COVID, right? Or I tell someone that I got the flu, like, yeah, I got COVID. Yesterday I'm supposed to have a Christmas party with an organization, nonprofit that I'm part of the board, and it's been canceled because somebody got COVID, right? So I get that, but it's like, okay, I have COVID, I feel I'm a little bit under the weather, and we're just moving along. What about, what I'm more interested in is COVID as serious situation, people in hospital because of COVID. Are we still seeing that? Because I don't hear a lot of people talking about it.
Well, we don't hear a lot of people talking about it because, again, if you think about what makes the news, when something is sort of slowly creeping up, it's very hard to write a news story about it because the numbers are just a little bit worse every day compared to last day. If you think about where we were a year ago when the Omicron variant swept through, that made headline news because you went from 1,000 cases to 2,000 to 4,000 to 8,000. That was exponential growth. So exponential growth is easy to explain to people. The slow, steady increasing is much harder to explain. Now, that is what's happening with COVID. Even the hospitalizations are going up. And if you look at the hospitalizations number, they are creeping upwards.
But is it hospitalizations with COVID or due to COVID? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That's the question I have. Is like I'm sort of trying to get to is like COVID right now, December of 2022. That's our year, right? 2022.
Yeah.
Is it a virus that's landing people in hospitals, or is it a virus that is becoming, I don't want to say benign, that's not the word I'm looking for, but a virus that has less impact, that is more like a cold than ever?
Well, here's the thing. People can have multiple things wrong with them when they land in hospital, and that often is what happens. So let's say you get COVID, you become sick, you become dehydrated, and then you go into renal failure as a consequence. The admitting diagnosis when you go to hospital is going to be renal failure. And so somebody who's parsing through statistics might say, oh, this person had COVID, but they weren't admitted to hospital because of COVID. But they were. It was just an indirect problem. Let's say you get an infection and that triggers a heart attack, which does happen. Your admitting diagnosis will be heart disease or myocardial infarction. It won't be listed as COVID, and yet you wouldn't be there if you didn't get the COVID infection. So it's very hard to parse out this difference. And so the whole conversation of from COVID with COVID, I'm not sure that serves us particularly well because it doesn't recognize how complicated medical diagnosis really is and the fact that many people have multiple things wrong with them simultaneously, which is why they end up in hospital to begin with.
So let me ask you a different way here. December 24th, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, you gathering with your family?
Yeah, I will, but I'm also going to be a little bit careful beforehand. I'm not going to, necessarily expose myself to high-risk situations, and I'm going to be mindful of the fact that if I'm feeling unwell, I probably won't, right? A friend of mine, we were supposed to have a meeting. He said, I'm not feeling well. I'm not sure if I should show up. And I said to him, if you're not feeling well, don't show up. Like, you can zoom into the meeting, right? So we have to keep that little bit of common sense available, which is, there are circulating viruses out there. Don't purposely go and make other people sick because if you go into a situation where you can spread the viruses to others, you will infect them and then they will go and infect other people. So those basic rules still apply. Whether COVID, the flu, or RSV, whether it's going to be severe for you or not, just be mindful of the fact that spreading the virus around doesn't make the situation any better.
Well, I got the flu a few weeks back. Let me tell you what a doozy it was. I think the worst flu I've ever had. 4 days where I was in bed, and I was saying to myself, if this goes another day, I got to go to the hospital here. And that's the last thing I want to do. Luckily, I turned the corner there. Dr. Labos, thanks for hopping on the phone with us this morning. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure. You take care.
Dr. Christopher Labos, you can hear him on Sunday mornings at 8:10 as he does Weekends with Ken and his Sunday morning check-in.